In my third year as a vegetable after a difficult childbirth, my husband hired a clueless caregiver. She scalded me by spilling a whole bottle of boiling water on me while bathing me. She pushed me off the bed while turning me over. She removed my breathing mask and forgot to put it back on. My husband raged at her every day, but never fired her, because the doctor said moderate stimulation might help me regain consciousness. So she suggested taking me bungee jumping. Such intense stimulation will definitely wake Mrs. Caldwell up. But I have a heart condition and a severe fear of heights. My husband agreed. Victoria is afraid of heights. If we scare her, she'll definitely wake up. The bungee jump went wrong. Daisy and I were suspended in midair, and only one could be saved. My husband roared, "Choose Daisy. Victoria is lucky and will be fine." Later, I hung him and Daisy together from a helicopter, forcing him to choose. "You and Daisy tell me, who do I pull up?" Hundreds of feet in the air. I struggled to open my eyes. "She's awake. Mrs. Caldwell is awake." A sharp-eyed staff member saw it, and breathed a sigh of relief. "Mr. Caldwell, Mrs. Caldwell has opened her eyes. Please lower her now. A full examination is the priority." Julian looked at me with surprise and joy. "Honey, you're finally awake. Daisy's method really worked." Actually, I had regained consciousness a long time ago, but I couldn't control my body. I blinked laboriously to show I heard him. "Honey, can't you speak?" Julian understood my meaning. The staff had already started offering congratulations, clearly disapproving of Julian bringing a vegetative patient bungee jumping. "Congratulations on Mrs. Caldwell regaining consciousness. The immediate priority is to take Mrs. Caldwell to the hospital for a full checkup. Let's get you down." Julian nodded, planning to lower me. "Honey, it's so good you're awake. I've tried so many methods these past 3 years, and finally succeeded. Although you still can't speak." Carried away from the dizzying cliff, my racing heart gradually returned to normal. Suddenly, someone bumped into me. "Mr. Caldwell. Wait." A wave of weightlessness washed over me as half my body extended beyond the platform's edge. A scream caught in my throat, the world spun, and my heart began to beat erratically. "Daisy, when will you get rid of your clumsy habits?" Julian roared at Daisy, sounding both wary and accustomed to her clumsiness. Daisy stuck out her tongue. "Sorry, Mr. Caldwell, I didn't mean to. Let Mrs. Caldwell continue bungee jumping. She can't talk now. Maybe another shock will help her recover completely." Julian looked thoughtful, but didn't see the rejection in my eyes. After only a moment's hesitation, Julian nodded. I felt a spasm in my heart, struggled to breathe, and wanted to scream. My face was pale. Julian finally glanced at me, his expression changing. "Victoria's heart condition is acting up. Get the medicine." Daisy rummaged through her bag for a moment, then bit her lip innocently. What should I do? When I left, I mistook Mrs. Caldwell's vitamins for her heart medication. "Daisy, I should have packed myself. I shouldn't have counted on you. I didn't do it on purpose. You never let me pack things usually. I didn't remember." Daisy sniffled softly. "Master, I've done something stupid again. Fire me." Julian was impatient. "All you do is cry, cry, cry." "Fine, just be careful next time." While my life was on the line, Julian reassured Daisy first. I felt the pain in my heart intensify. I tried to control my heartbeat, to calm myself down, and the heart spasm slowly subsided. "Mrs. Caldwell is better. She must forgive me." Daisy smiled through her tears, innocently shaking my arm. "Mrs. Caldwell hasn't had a heart attack for 3 years. Suddenly having one now means she's recovering. Just one more jump, one more shock, and she'll definitely be cured." The staff members tried to dissuade him, but Julian was determined. He looked at me with deep affection. "Honey, I can't stand you not being by my side any longer. I have to do this so you can recover quickly. We'll give you 2 safety ropes and thick protective clothing. You'll be fine." After securing me to the platform, Daisy went to the other side of the platform, encouraging herself. "Daisy, you can do it." Looking at the bottomless cliff, my body was unable to struggle. I could only let the force behind me push me off. But the moment I was pushed off the platform, I discovered that the safety rope on my back was not buckled. Approaching the abyss, I was filled with despair, almost believing I would fall to my death. But the bungee cord did its job at the last moment, launching me up and down several times. After enduring that agonizing weightlessness and extreme fear and despair, I was left suspended in midair. My brain flooded with blood, and the bottomless abyss below pushed my body to its limit. Julian's anxious voice came from above. "Quick, pull my wife up. She's most afraid of heights." A tug came from the end of the rope, and I was slowly pulled back. But just as I approached the platform, a cry filled with sobs came from the side. "My head hurts so much, Mr. Caldwell. Am I going to die?" The force on the rope suddenly loosened, and I fell again. I couldn't make a sound, forced to experience the near-death feeling of falling again. Julian looked at Daisy's pained face, his expression anxious. "What's wrong?" Hanging in the air, Daisy whimpered. "I have a hereditary illness. I can't participate in extreme sports." Julian's voice was filled with tense anger. "Why didn't you say so earlier? What were you trying to prove?" Daisy stubbornly said, "I just wanted to eliminate your prejudice against me, to prove myself. Even a vegetative patient can do it, so can I." Hearing her words, Julian paused, then shouted to the staff, "Quick, pull Daisy up." The staff member looked embarrassed. "Mr. Caldwell, Miss." Daisy jumped down when we weren't paying attention. "We only have enough staff to pull one person up first." The air seemed to freeze at that moment. Julian seemed to be paused by a remote control. After a short silence, he gritted his teeth. "Pull my wife up first." I had been hanging in the air for nearly 10 minutes. The bungee cord, after 2 overloaded movements, made a slight cracking sound. Daisy's voice suddenly rose above the sound of the rope cracking. "Julian, I like you. I know that when Mrs. Caldwell wakes up, you won't be with me. You don't have to remember me after I die. I just hope you remember how brave I was." Listening to her clumsy confession, Julian's hand trembled, feeling disappointed. Who told her to confess in this way? Daisy's voice grew weaker. Looking at Julian's face, all the staff members were in a dilemma, and could only quietly advise. "Mr. Caldwell, Mrs. Caldwell has been hanging in the air for more than 10 minutes. Something will happen." A master diviner told Victoria that she would turn misfortune into good fortune, and would escape death. Julian murmured to himself, as if trying to convince himself. The master diviner is very accurate. 3 years ago during the difficult birth, Victoria survived. The rope is still there, she will be fine. As soon as he finished speaking, Julian finally made up his mind. Save Daisy first. Pull her up quickly. Hearing Julian's choice, my heart seemed to be clenched and plunged into an ice cellar. Julian's parents died, and he was all alone. I accompanied him step by step to where he is today. He said he wanted a family, so I risked my life to have a child for him, but suffered a difficult birth, lost consciousness, and became a vegetable for 3 years. For 3 years, Julian would spend most of his time with me, taking care of me in every possible way. I thought I had chosen the right person. Watching Daisy being carefully pulled up bit by bit, the anger surging in my heart turned into a strong desire to survive. No, I can't die here. I'm not the one who deserves to die. Under the strong desire to survive, I found my throat could make some blurry sounds. I kept trying to make sounds to call for help, but my weak voice was easily drowned out by Daisy's voice. She was clutching Julian's clothes, crying so hard she couldn't catch her breath. "Mr. Caldwell, I thought I would never see you again." Julian hesitated, then finally placed his hand on her back. "It's okay, don't do anything so foolish again." Daisy looked at him with emotion, about to throw herself into his arms. My hoarse cry for help interrupted their tender moment. "Save me. Pull me up." Hearing my voice again after 3 years, Julian pushed Daisy away and leaned over the edge of the bungee jump platform, looking overjoyed and tearful. "Honey, you're finally awake. My efforts were not in vain." Julian's gaze was as sincere and passionate as it had been 3 years ago, but I knew his heart was no longer faithful. I suppressed the urge to vomit and continued to plead for his help. Julian seemed to wake up from a dream. "Quickly pull my wife up." The staff quickly came to pull the rope. As they pulled, they suddenly saw something and cried out in horror. "The safety rope isn't fastened. The bungee cord is about to break." Julian flew into a rage and kicked the person who spoke to the ground. Are you trying to die, making such a basic mistake? The staff member pointed tremblingly at Daisy. Miss. Daisy took the initiative to put the equipment on Mrs. Caldwell before the bungee jump. Daisy bit her lip, looking helpless. Looking at Julian, she said tearfully, Mr. Caldwell, have I messed up again? The missus won't blame me, will she? You know, I always mess things up the first time I do them. Julian kicked the nearby tree stump hard, his anger suddenly extinguished. What did I teach you? When you make a mistake, you must fix it in time. Quickly call the rescue team. He incoherently comforted me. It's my fault, I shouldn't have entrusted this to her. Honey, don't be afraid, I'll find a way, I promise you won't be hurt. Julian subconsciously took the blame on himself, as if he had done it countless times. But my heart was already dead silent, without even a trace of heartache. Perhaps it was because I had experienced several ups and downs in a short period. My mind had instead calmed down at this point, and I began to draft a divorce agreement in my head. Also, how to make them pay the price. I tried to control my fingers. A signal transmitter was implanted on the inside of my arm. As long as I pressed it, my people would quickly find me based on the location device. This was the last trump card I had left for myself. The sound of the rope breaking was becoming more and more obvious, and Julian's forehead was bulging with veins. If anything happens to my wife, none of you will live. Why isn't the rescue team here yet? Julian suddenly stood up. Tie a rope around me. I'll go down and hold her to come up. The staff and Daisy instinctively tried to dissuade him. No, it's too dangerous. But Julian had already started tying the rope around himself. My wife is my life, if it's dangerous, I'll die with her. Seeing that he was determined, Daisy's expression subtly changed, and she clutched her chest and cried out in pain. It hurts, Mr. Caldwell, it hurts so much, don't go. Julian paused and stood there. The staff quickly stepped forward to check and said, Ms. Daisy already has an underlying medical condition, and a critical aftereffect has occurred after the extreme sport. If she doesn't receive medical treatment as soon as possible, the situation is very dangerous. Daisy's breathing became increasingly rapid and weak. Julian, who had originally ignored everything and moved forward, suddenly stopped. Mr. Caldwell, the ambulance is too slow to come up the mountain. We don't have time, it's too late. Julian breathed heavily, hesitated for a few breaths, and finally raised his hand and untied the safety rope. He stood at the edge of the cliff and glanced at me. Honey, don't be afraid, someone will come to save you soon. I'll wait for you to come back safe in the hospital. His expression was struggling and painful. Honey, you are the person I love the most, but I can't watch another innocent person die. You are so kind, you will definitely forgive me, right? He didn't seem to want to wait for my answer, and as if he had made up his mind, he turned and walked towards Daisy. Therefore, he didn't see my answer. No. I won't forgive you. In this lifetime, I will never forgive you. Daisy's breath was weak. This might be the last stupid thing I do. I confess, Mr. Caldwell, please forgive me. My head was hurting too much just now, and I didn't have time to call the rescue team. If I kill sister, I'll just give her my life as compensation, okay? The veins on Julian's arm were bulging, but he still comforted himself. Nothing will happen to either of you. She's wearing such thick protective gear, even if she falls, she'll be fine. But Julian didn't know that the protective suit had been clumsily wet by Daisy when she fed me water, and she had taken it off and thrown it aside. Mr. Caldwell, am I really that bad? But don't worry, I won't bother you anymore in the future. Julian roared. Shut up, don't say such stupid things. With that, he quickened his pace. Just as their voices completely faded away, the bungee cord holding me finally reached its limit. With a soft bang, accompanied by the terrified screams of the staff, I fell towards the endless abyss, smashing heavily into a dense forest. Julian, this is the second time you have abandoned me. Before completely losing consciousness, I finally regained control of my body. Trembling, I pressed the distress signal. My limbs regained consciousness in extreme pain, and I lost my sense of time. I don't know how long passed, but someone called my name in my ear. Miss Sterling, Miss Sterling. When did you recover? How did you end up here? I grabbed my assistant Robin's hand and leaned closer to my ear. Ms. Sterling, what do you want to say? I said word by word. Draft a divorce agreement for me immediately. The white lights of the operating room, the doctors coming and going around. The familiar scene reminded me of that day. I lost my daughter after 10 months of pregnancy, followed by the loss of sensation in my limbs. Julian cried and begged me not to leave him, promising to be good to me for the rest of his life. But in just 3 years he had become completely different. I closed my eyes wearily, letting my consciousness slowly sink into darkness. Julian carried the person in his arms down the mountain, his pace getting faster and faster. Daisy, who was drowsy in his arms, was shaken awake, and a happy smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Mr. Caldwell, I didn't expect you to care so much about me. But how could someone as bad as me deserve your attention? Julian stopped. She turned her head and asked, Have we been walking for so long? Have we reached the hospital yet? Before she could find the hospital, the world in front of her spun. Julian shoved her into the car and instructed the driver, Take her to the hospital. Daisy was stunned and grabbed his sleeve. Mr. Caldwell, where are you going? I'm a little scared. Julian yanked his hand back, his voice laced with coldness. If anything happens to Victoria, I won't let you off so easily this time. With that, Julian turned and headed up the mountain. Daisy behind him bit her lip in frustration. Mr. Caldwell, do you really not care about me at all? Julian stopped in his tracks and looked back at her, a deep gaze in his eyes. In this lifetime, I will never let Victoria Sterling down. Hearing his ambiguous answer, Daisy's lips slowly curved into a smile, a glint of determination flashing in her eyes. When Julian returned to the mountaintop platform, he hadn't even gotten close when he heard intermittent sobbing. Suddenly he had a very bad premonition. His legs seemed rooted to the spot, and he didn't dare take another step forward. Where's my wife? Julian kept comforting himself in his heart, telling himself it couldn't be true. He grabbed one of the workers on the platform tightly. Where's Victoria Sterling? The worker looked at his terrible expression and answered tremblingly. The rope broke. Mrs. Caldwell fell. Julian looked at the abyss before him, and he felt a wave of dizziness. A buzzing sound filled his ears, and he heard his own trembling voice questioning loudly. How could she fall? Didn't I tell you to find a way to save her? Did you just watch her fall? The worker's voice was filled with tears. It was too late. You had just left with Ms. Daisy when the rope broke. Julian staggered back 2 steps and finally collapsed to the ground. He remembered how afraid Victoria was of heights. When he proposed, he booked the entire amusement park and proposed at the highest point of the Ferris wheel. Victoria, with her usually aloof personality, cried for the first time in front of him because she was so scared. At that time, he vowed never to let Victoria cry again. Did Victoria cry when the rope broke? Did Victoria hate him? He suddenly didn't dare to think any further and grabbed the collar of the person next to him, roaring, Find her. Even if you have to turn this mountain upside down, you must find my wife. I regained consciousness a week later. I opened my eyes, moved my stiff limbs, and immediately called the doctor to arrange for rehabilitation. Robin helped me take difficult steps. Ms. Sterling, why are you so eager for rehabilitation? The doctor said you need to rest well now. I looked ahead and sneered. Of course, I need to go to the company. Otherwise, should I wait for my husband to send out my obituary and brazenly change Sterling Enterprise to Caldwell Enterprise? The dimly lit room was filled with smoke, and the phone rang incessantly. It was those old men from the company calling. After hanging up countless times, Julian finally couldn't take it anymore and answered. I said I'm not going to the company. My wife is dead. The company going bankrupt has nothing to do with me. But the secretary's clear voice came from the other end of the line. Victoria Sterling. Miss Sterling has come to the company and called a shareholders' meeting. The phone slammed to the ground. The despairing look on Julian's face turned into ecstatic joy. He didn't care about the shattered phone or the half-sentence the secretary hadn't finished saying. Miss Sterling has requested the suspension of all your duties. Julian grabbed his coat and rushed out. Daisy, who was cooking, saw that he was finally willing to leave his room, her expression brightening, but then she said aggrievedly, "Mr. Caldwell, I just cut my hand." But Julian stopped, ignoring her words, and instead ordered in an undeniable tone, "Leave my house immediately with all your belongings. Victoria will be back soon, and she'll be angry if she sees you." After saying that, he left impatiently, ignoring Daisy's suddenly pale face. Julian rushed into the conference room, disheveled and out of breath. He ignored the various gazes around him and just stared straight at me. "Wife, are you okay?" My gaze swept lightly across his face, revealing a hint of disgust, and then I put on a distant smile. "I'm afraid I've disappointed Mr. Caldwell. I'm perfectly fine." Julian's eyes flickered, and he took a step forward, about to say something more. Robin stepped in front of me without a word. "Mr. Caldwell, the meeting is about to begin. It wouldn't be appropriate to delay everyone's time, would it?" Only then did Julian sit down in his seat, dazed. At the meeting, I requested that the board of directors remove Julian from all positions in Sterling Enterprise. Julian's gaze was fixed on my face from beginning to end, and he didn't hear a single word. The meeting ended smoothly, and Julian walked up to me, his eyes a little wet. "Wife, are you angry with me? Why didn't you come back to see me sooner?" He took my hand and knelt down on one knee in front of me. "Do you know how I spent the last month? I dug 3 feet into that forest and couldn't find you. But as long as you're okay, you can be angry with me however you want. I'm willing to do anything." Looking at Julian's tearful appearance, I withdrew my hand expressionlessly. Willing to do anything? I looked at the woman staring at me through the glass wall of the conference room, and at Julian, who was nodding eagerly, and repeated softly, "Then make a choice now." Robin placed 2 prepared documents on the table. Divorce, or take the stand and send her to prison. Seeing the divorce agreement, Julian's face paled, and he subconsciously shook his head. "No divorce, wife, I don't want a divorce." But hearing my other option, Julian's face turned even paler. He turned his head slightly and saw Daisy's eyes flashing with anticipation. Julian's lips trembled slightly. "Wife, you..." I interrupted him and looked at him teasingly. "Isn't Mr. Caldwell best at choosing between 2 options? Why have you become so indecisive?" I put away my smile and resumed my expressionless look. "I'll only give you 30 seconds to consider. If you exceed the time, I'll apply to the court for compulsory enforcement of the divorce." 2. I choose 2. Julian's breathing was rapid, and he gave me a flattering smile. "Wife, don't leave me. I'll agree to anything." I turned to look at Daisy, whose face was pale, outside the glass wall, and smiled softly. "You've heard the answer. Then Miss Daisy, wait to receive a summons from the court." Behind me came Daisy's collapsing questioning. "Mr. Caldwell, I didn't do anything. It was just an accident. You can't let me go to prison." Julian followed behind me, avoiding Daisy's attempt to pounce on him, and remained silent. Robin led the security guards to drag her away, saying politely, "Ms. Daisy, save those words for Ms. Sterling's lawyer." Returning to the long-lost villa, I had a feeling of being in another world. As soon as I opened the door, confetti rained down. "Wife, welcome home. For 3 years, I've been dreaming every day that you could open your eyes and see our house again. Everything here is exactly the same as before, waiting for us to come back." Julian opened his arms to me. I slowly and deliberately removed the confetti from my hair, avoided his embrace, and said lightly, "I'm tired. I'll sleep in the guest room tonight. Don't bother me." Julian's outstretched hand froze in midair and dropped weakly. He circled around to my front again, raised something in his hand, and knelt down on one knee in front of me. "Wife, I know you're still angry with me. Those were all accidents. Taking you bungee jumping was just because I missed you so much that I grasped at straws. I only feel responsible towards Daisy. As an employer, I couldn't let her die because of me. But if anything ever happens to you, I will not hesitate to be with you. You can be angry at me, resent me, but I will make you forgive me and fall in love with me again." Only then did I see clearly that the thing he was holding up was my wedding ring, which I had worn for 6 years. When I was lying in bed unable to move, I was afraid of swelling, so Julian took it off. And only now did I remember. It's evident that something seemingly important, once it has to be discarded, can quickly become a habit. I looked at Julian's sincere appearance and curved my lips. Oh, unhesitatingly stay with me? Then how are you still alive after I had an accident, and my life was uncertain for a month? Having said that, I was too lazy to watch Julian's saccharine cliches and left directly. Julian was dismissed from his position. In the days that followed, he spent every day at home revolving around the kitchen. No matter when I got home, Julian could always serve hot meals. If I ate even one extra bite, he would burst out laughing. In a daze, it felt as if we had returned to the time before we got married. At that time, I thought this might be my whole life with Julian. But little did I know that good times are fleeting. Just like now. Robin took out a stack of documents for me to see. Mr. Caldwell has begun to arrange for Daisy to go abroad. Mr. Caldwell has purchased a new property in the U.S., which is equipped with 3 servants. A large sum of money has also been deposited into Daisy's account, enough for her to live a worry-free life for the rest of her days. Robin observed my expression. Miss Sterling, should we send someone to stop her? I closed the documents and chuckled. Going abroad is good, no need to stop her. Help me draft an agreement. Oh right, I remember I have a helicopter in the U.S. At the dinner table, Julian was fidgety under my gaze. He checked himself several times, found nothing wrong, and then smiled tentatively. Wife, why are you always looking at me today? Do you like my outfit today? I looked at his constantly lighting up phone. There's a call, aren't you going to answer it? But Julian hung up the phone without hesitation. Advertising sales, no need to bother with it. Looking at Julian's insincere expression, I slowly put down my chopsticks. The phone isn't important, but that very important person, if you don't hurry to the airport to see her off, it'll be too late. Exposed so mercilessly by me, Julian subconsciously denied it. She's not an important person, you're the most important. Then he gave a wry smile and looked at me. Victoria, I know you didn't really intend to send her to jail, right? Your choice that time was just a test. I'm sending her abroad to make her disappear from your sight completely. In the future, let's start over and live a good life together. Under Julian's nervous gaze, I smiled and nodded. Over the years, we understand each other the best. Seeing me smile, Julian breathed a sigh of relief. Daisy is just stupid, she doesn't have bad intentions. She did all this so you could get better sooner. He sighed. Wife, let her go, she's just an ordinary girl. After all, you got better because of her. Listening to Julian's words, I almost laughed out loud. I held back, my chest aching. Okay. I nodded. The last multiple choice question was a test. This time you have to choose carefully. If you choose correctly, I'll let her go. Julian, divorce me or give up all your Sterling shares. Upon hearing the options clearly, Julian's pupils constricted. Wife, you know what I'll choose. He took a deep breath. Can you tell me, what do you need the shares for? Just to better control the power of Sterling, and keep those other restless old men in line. Julian signed the equity transfer document with a wry smile. Wife, you didn't have to force me like this. Just tell me directly, and I would be willing. Julian's phone was still ringing incessantly. I took his phone, answered it, and Daisy's cries came through. I just want to see you one last time. If you don't come, I won't leave. Hearing these incredibly stupid words, a smile appeared on my lips. Perhaps Julian was right about one thing. This woman was indeed stupid. Sure enough, the veins on Julian's forehead bulged. You think you can just not leave if you don't want to? Do you know what I went through to send you abroad? Julian's words abruptly stopped. He finally couldn't bear it anymore and roared into the phone. Okay, you chose this yourself, don't regret it. If you don't leave, then prepare to go to jail. Julian hung up the phone, took a deep breath, and forced a smile. Wife, you see, her life and death have nothing to do with me in the future. Let's be together properly. My job and shares are gone. I'll rely on you to support me from now on. I looked at the hung-up phone thoughtfully. I remember when we got married. We went to the U.S. for our honeymoon. It's been so long, how about we go back and take a look? We had just landed in the U.S. when Daisy received the news and came running. Mr. Caldwell, I knew you wouldn't be so heartless. You're here to see me, right? Julian subconsciously looked at my expression. What are you doing here? You're not welcome here. Go back to where you should be. Daisy was tearful and on the verge of crying. I just wanted to see you. Mrs. Caldwell wouldn't be so petty, right? Julian looked ugly, but before he could speak, I had already smiled and said, Of course not. My surname is Sterling, just call me by my surname. We were just about to go see the island where we spent our honeymoon. Since Miss Daisy is here, let's go see that island together. The helicopter circled the lush green island. I originally bought this island to hold our wedding. As if recalling something, Julian's eyes were filled with tenderness as he looked at me. This gentle gaze made Daisy's jealous expression distort. But shortly after the wedding, there was an accident on the island. No matter what we tried, the value of the island kept falling, and eventually it became a completely deserted island. In short, this is indeed the most unsuccessful investment I've made since I was born. I laughed. But I always face my failures squarely, and I will find a way to get my life back on the right track. Looking at my smile, Julian seemed to realize something, and his expression changed slightly. Several bodyguards walked out of the cabin behind us, and walked towards the two of them. Daisy woke up earlier. Her loud shouts then woke Julian up. Victoria Sterling, what are you doing? Hanging in midair on the helicopter, Daisy looked at the empty space beneath her feet, and her screams almost pierced my eardrums. Even Julian's face turned pale. Just want to play a game with you. What are we playing? Daisy asked in a trembling voice. Thanks to them, I overcame my fear of heights and can now look at them with a smile and calmly say, Of course, we're playing your favorite multiple choice game. Who do you choose and I'll pull them up, okay? Daisy's voice was shrill. What about the one who's left? I answered with a smile. The one who's left, I'll give them this island, and let them play desert island survival alone. How about that? As soon as I finished speaking, Daisy fell silent. Daisy, you and Julian, who do you choose? After a brief silence, Daisy's voice changed its tone. I choose myself, pull me up. After choosing, she looked at Julian with tears streaming down her face. Mr. Caldwell, I'm sorry I was too scared. I know you're her husband. She won't do anything to you. Julian didn't answer, just gently closed his eyes. I looked at Julian's gloomy expression, wondering if he had ever regretted choosing Daisy those 2 times. But whether he regretted it or not, he would never have a chance to make amends. I looked at him. You and Daisy, tell me, who should I pull up? Julian didn't choose, but sighed softly. Victoria, no need to choose anymore, just take what you want. I'll agree to it. I wiped away the smile on my face and looked down at him condescendingly. I took out the divorce agreement I had prepared long ago. This time, there was no other either/or choice for him. I took out a pen and spoke concisely. Sign the divorce agreement, and leave my life completely. Julian realized that saying anything more was futile, and belated tears were also futile, so he simply lowered his eyes and replied, Okay. Ms. Sterling, Daisy's property in the U.S. has been recovered, and all the money in her account has been traced back. She has nowhere to go but to buy a ticket back to China. Robin smiled. As per your request, all the evidence has been submitted to the court, and she will be arrested the moment she walks out of the airport. Robin hesitated for a moment before saying, But Julian hasn't come down from the island since he went up there. Does he really want to spend the rest of his life on that desolate island? I stretched and looked out the window. That's his life now. Whether he wants to stubbornly stick to his delusion or remain in the same place, clinging to past memories, it has nothing to do with me anymore. I clapped my hands. This investment project was stopped in time, so it can be considered a success. Let's have a celebration banquet tomorrow.